I'm live. Hello. Hello. Facebook land and YouTube land. At least I'm going to assume I am live on Facebook land and YouTube land. Hello, everybody. I see one person watching. I am hoping that I did the technology right to where I can see comments. If anybody's watching from Facebook, StreamYard doesn't necessarily show me who's watching from where, at least not that I've been able to figure out yet. So for the one person I see that's watching right now, if you could post in the comments, I don't know if you are watching from Facebook or YouTube, but if you could post in the comments that you can see me and hear me, then I'll be able to know if the comments will show up to where I'm at. Looks like YouTube can, but I don't know if those of you that are watching it from Facebook can. If you are watching this live from Facebook, please tell me if you put in the chat, so then I'll be able to see it. And if not, I'm just, like I said, trying to figure out if I can turn on comments from my Facebook, because anybody that is watching me from Facebook, I want to be able to see your comments. And if not, then I'm going to have to end this and redo it, because, hello, I can see and hear you on YouTube. Awesome. But I don't think that those that are watching from Facebook can comment. So I'm not sure here. I am not sure here. Let's see if anybody knows how to do this as I'm kind of figuring it out live. I'm trying to make sure that people from Facebook can comment. Okay, I'm thinking that everything is good. Oh wow, this is really something, you guys, if you're watching this right now. Yes, this is really something. Okay. So, I may have to, there we are. Got it. Only took 4 minutes. Awesome. Okay. Okay, I see the comments from Facebook. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being patient with me. All right, so welcome. Welcome to this live webinar. Some of you on here may have watched this before. But hey, the more that we apply this message, the more change we're going to make in our life. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here. I don't want to take up too much of your Tuesday morning today, so I'm going to dive right in. I'm going to go through a slideshow. We are going to be talking about how to basically go from frustration to freedom after a spiritual awakening. Now, I always have caution when I use the word spiritual awakening, and this is why. Because a lot of times, first of all, when you say spiritual awakening or spirituality, some people think religion or religious, and that is certainly not what I am referring to when I talk about spiritual awakening. It is not a religious framework. It is a spiritual framework. And that's pretty broad. I understand that, but I'd like to make that really clear, because some people think that when I talk about, like I said, spiritual awakening, it's religious, and this is not religious at all. And number two, I think it's just can be so convoluted. Like, there's so many terms out there now that have so much connotation and meaning behind it that it sort of loses its potency after a while. So sometimes I really struggle with words to use to describe things, because I don't want to use the same words that are overused. And then, like I said, they've lost their meaning. They've lost their potency. So today, when I say spiritual awakening, what that means to me and what I'm referring to is somebody that has done some inner work. What do I mean by inner work, Em? Well, you have began the journey of becoming more aware, more self-aware, learning about consciousness, learning about evolving your consciousness. And like I said, this can be really broad, but I kind of like that it's broad because I don't want to pigeonhole anybody. So when I say spiritual awakening, I just mean for me, my spiritual awakening started because I picked up a book. And I'll talk about that in the slideshow. But this book that I had started talking about thoughts are things and self-awareness and meditation. And I didn't know any of that. And so that's really when my journey began for me, was reading a book about these things. And so spiritual awakening just means you're becoming more self-aware. You're becoming more conscious. And when you start down that journey, typically you're going to find modalities, teachers, coaches, whatever it may be, people who are like-minded that are doing the same things, that are just different kinds of tools that help you to learn more about yourself, basically, to really just help you become more self-aware. And I think that it can get so woo-woo or so out there or so whatever. And, there's so many terms for all of it now, like new age or, so many things. And really, when I'm referring to it, it's just, like I said, it's really about becoming more self-aware, becoming more evolved, learning more about yourself. And so when I say spiritual awakening, that's what I'm referring to. And so what I'm really going to talk about today is where I was at exactly in my life 5 years ago, where I had this spiritual awakening, but I was like, okay, now what? Like, now I kind of know these things, but what is it? Like, how do I actually change my life? Like, okay, I know these things and like, I'm really working on my inside world. I'm working on learning how to regulate my emotions, self-regulation. I'm working on how to become aware of patterns that I have. I'm working on how to not be the victim in my life and really become aware of the thoughts and feelings that rule me every day. But my outside world isn't really changing. And so how do I take what I'm learning? And trust me, I dove deep into the rabbit hole. I was watching YouTube videos. I was reading all the books. I was doing all the things, all the spiritual teachers, all the spiritual leaders, all the self-help people, personal development people. I was watching and reading everything I could get my hands on. And yet I still felt really, really frustrated. I felt like I need somebody to ask these questions to. Like, I have so many questions. Like, say I leave my marriage because my husband's not really like following this journey with me. I have this thing inside of me that feels like, I have everything in life that they told me I should have, and I should be happy, but I'm not. So is there something wrong with me? And what are the practical steps that I take every day to really make change in my life, so that I can become the person that I know I was meant to be and that I want to be, and show up as that person in every area, not just like when it's safe. When I was hidden in my closet, literally, I meditated in my closet the first 9 months because it felt like kind of a dirty little secret. And it was like, how do I actually live this full on out? Like, how do I come out of my spiritual closet and live this, like be this all of the time, not just when it's convenient, not just when I'm around certain people, not just when I'm talking to certain people, but actually live by these laws that I'm learning about. And so that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, because that's where I was at. And I've been able now 5 years later to create that life exactly like I wished for so badly years and years ago. There was many times where I remember just saying to myself, I wish my outside world would match my inside world. Like, I just so badly wish that. I wish, I was learning from so many amazing spiritual teachers, but nobody was really like coaching or one-on-one help, or I wasn't finding anything that I could access, that I could ask somebody, okay, what did you do in this circumstance? Like, here's my circumstance. What did you do in that circumstance? And so that, because of my own journey I was on, I am now helping others do the very same things that I learned, and kind of like holding your hand as you go through it, because that's really what I desired so desperately, was having somebody that I could ask these questions to, that could give me some practical steps, because I'm a really practical person. Like, I always say, like, it doesn't matter what kind of spiritual modality you're doing, whether it's ayahuasca, whether it's tapping, whether like whatever it is, does it matter in your day-to-day life? Is it giving you tools to make your day-to-day life better? Because if not, to me, it doesn't really matter. It's just out there in the ethers, and we don't live out in the ethers. We live in bodies. And I truly believe we have to integrate everything that we learn out there in the ethers into our bodies. I truly believe that it is not about ascending out of the body, as you hear in a lot of spiritual communities. I believe it's about descending into the body and taking all that knowledge and wisdom and bringing it into the body, not trying to escape being human, but learn about being human, embrace being human to its full potential. So that's my mission. That's my journey. And whoever resonates with that, I invite you to join me along the way. And if you don't, that's great too. You will find somebody else that resonates with you. So with all that being said, I'm going to dive into this slideshow with you guys. And we're going to dive into some of the tools and tactics that I teach within my online program that got me to where I am at, that answered all those questions that I had, and how to actually do that. That's what we're going to be going over today. It's a lot of information in a short time period. I'm going to try to have this done in 45 minutes. I will open it up at the end for questions. So if you have questions that come up as I'm presenting this slideshow, just write them down. If you put them in the chat, it's difficult because they may get lost in translation. So just write them down. If the question comes up as I'm going through the slideshow, just write them down. And then at the end, when I say, does anyone have questions? Then you can put it in the chat. Okay. So I am going to share my screen. I am going to share my screen. Present. Here we go. All right, guys. Here we go. Okay. So let's see. Can you? Yes, you can see me. Good. I like for you to be able to see me. All right, here we go. So from frustration to freedom, in this retraining, I'm going to give you my exact strategy to take you from feeling powerless and small to finding your confidence so that you can use your voice to show up authentically in your life, your personal power to step into a life of freedom, which is ultimately what I live now. I'm not a victim to anything. I know I'm the creator of my life, and I live life like that every single day. And that's what I hope for you. So who is all in to learn more? If you guys are still with me, put it in the chat. If you've followed along this long, especially the first couple minutes that were a little bit rocky, if you're still here. Okay, so settle in and stick around. I don't want to waste your time at all. I know time is so valuable and your energy is so valuable. So if any of these apply to you, I highly recommend you stay for this entire training. If you're a conscious, self-aware woman who feels frustrated, stuck, indecisive on where your life should go, and you feel fearful of making changes or losing people in your life, you've gone to many conferences, different retreats, workshops, hired all the healers, read all the books, done some mini courses, worked with other coaches, but you're still struggling to implement and integrate and apply the changes into your life. And you may feel confused as I talk about as to what steps to take next. You feel blockages within your chakra system, especially your lower ones. That's a really big one that we dive straight into in my program, is really working within this lower chakra system, or roots, as I call them. You may know that you have patterns and programs. You've done enough work that you know that these things exist in you, but now you're kind of like where I was, which is like, now what? Like, you aren't sure how to fix them or what to actually do about them. You feel stuck and that maybe this inner work just isn't for you. You've been searching outside of you to find answers, as I did so many years ago. You struggle with learning how to go inside to find your own answers. So a lot of times this will translate to giving your power away to other people. You want to make changes, but you're afraid of what those around you may think. You are committed to doing the hard things to get the results you desire. That is really, really, really important, especially if you're going to work with me. I don't promise unicorns and rainbows all of the time. I do promise results if you are willing to do the hard things. You may know many spiritual concepts, but you haven't been able to find a step-by-step guide for integration into your everyday life. You may feel like you have no support or community around you. You may feel like you don't have anybody that understands you or what you're wanting to do or where you're wanting to go. And you, most importantly, are ready to stop the victim cycle and become your own guru, your own healer. So if any of those apply, stick around. I have some treats for you. But you can leave. As I said, I don't want to waste your time. I will save you from the next 45 minutes and you can go do something else. There's no judgment at all. Some people resonate with some people don't. So it's totally okay. I'm good. But if any of these apply to you, you can go ahead and step out now. So if you only want to learn about the law of attraction or how to manifest things, that's not what I'm going to cover in this training. I will cover that, but we're also going to cover a lot more. So if you're just interested in that, that's not my work. If you want to complain or blame about where your life is, but you aren't willing to try something different to change you, my work will not help you, because it is not designed for somebody that wants to fight for their limitations or stay stuck in their scenario. You have to be willing to try something different to change it. You aren't serious or committed, as I talked about, to making the changes necessary. You think you need only the science or only the magic to create transformation. You don't. You need both. You think you know everything there is to know about breath work, spiritual concepts, what works and what doesn't, or what you need to change, because if you knew that, you wouldn't be here right now. If you think you know everything, great. I hope your life is amazing. You aren't willing to be the student with a curious outlook, or you want to stay stuck in your story, low frequency emotions, fight for your limitations. If, there's many times where I have phone calls with people and I'm asking them questions and giving them some tools that they can apply, and there is always a reason why they can't. If you're that person, again, my work won't work for you. There's no judgment. There's no nothing. I'm here to help you if you're ready and willing to help yourself. So lastly, if you get mad that I offer you this free training, I'm giving away my system, my whole system that people pay money for, that has helped me create the life that I have now. But then you complain or are angry when I make you an offer at the end for an exclusive opportunity to work with me in the newly remodeled online program, because I will be doing that. Just to give you a heads up now, if you're uncomfortable with that, again, you are more than welcome to leave. So let's dive in. With that being said, hopefully you're definitely supposed to be here, or if you're definitely not. Clarity, right? That's all we need is clarity. No judgment, just clarity. So many women who are on a spiritual path that I have seen in my experience, they feel stuck. They feel frustrated with just trying to do the inner work. They understand the concepts, but they lack the application. They read all the books. They read the Eckhart books. They read the Abraham Hicks. They read the Tony Robbins. They read the Joe Dispenzas. They read the Anita Moorjani. They read Bruce Lipton. They read all of these people. They go to their retreats, but their life continues to stay the same. They're constantly looking outside of themselves for healers to heal them. They want to go out of the body. They're almost addicted to going out of the body, but they find it hard to be actually in their body. They're always questioning themselves, wondering if they're doing it right. And they like a guide or blueprint to actually turn information into transformation. And a lot of times that means you're uncomfortable in your body. But a woman who stands in her power while being on a spiritual path, so they have both of those aspects down, this looks like full alignment after releasing this stored, trapped, stuck energy, trauma in the body, doing a lot of reprogramming subconscious beliefs, gaining their clarity and confidence, using their voice to show up authentically in their lives, as I talked about, not just in one area, but in all areas. They know how to create boundaries. They know how to take radical responsibility and how to balance both their human self and their spiritual self. They know how to integrate and apply information, and they're manifesting their dream life on autopilot. So the strategy that I use within my Authentic Life Blueprint program is 4 phases. Okay, so phase 1, the first phase that we go through, this is a 9-month online intensive program, and there's 4 phases within that 9 months. So phase 1 is really working within the root and the sacral energetic system. It's focusing on releasing stored, stuck energy and trauma, becoming aware of the default self, what I call the default self, awakening your sexual and feminine energy, and basically letting go of the shit that stands in the way of you gaining clarity in your life. Phase 2 is working within your crown and third eye system. It's really about connecting to source, your higher self, whatever you call that, source, God, the universe, the divine, whatever word you want to use. Learning how to connect with your intuition, the power of surrender, building your manifestation muscle, gaining clarity, and getting a really clear vision of what you want in your future. That's also another big problem for a lot of the women that I talk to. I ask them, what do you want in your life? And they say, that's the problem. I don't know. I don't have that clarity. And that's because there's so much shit in the way of you even beginning to think about what's possible in your life. So until you can get that shit out of the way, it's really difficult to try to find that clarity. So this is why I use the system and the strategy that I do. Phase 3 is about working within your solar plexus, your personal power, and then your throat. It's developing your confidence, your personal power, your willpower, learning how to set boundaries, which is really big, connecting with your masculine energy, speaking your authentic truth with those around you, putting your ideas out into the world, and self-regulation. A lot of people stop at phase 2 and they don't actually step into their personal power. And so, as I said, that leaves you kind of stuck out in the ethers instead of application and seeing that and putting that into your everyday life. And then phase 4 is working within your heart system, which is really focused on unconditional self-love and worthiness, because that is the epitome of unconditional love, is first for self and then as a byproduct for others. Embodying passion and purpose, creating elevated emotions and how to create those elevated emotions. Heart coherence, again, more about self-regulation. And really, this is where the rubber meets the road and fully stepping into your dream life, your most authentic life. So those are the 4 phases we're going to go over. This is value-packed. Turn off all distractions, get a pen and paper, and be sure to stay into the end for Q&A. So before we dive into the tactics, here's a little history and what qualifies me to deliver this information. I'm going to quickly go through this because I kind of already went over that in the beginning. But I had my own quote unquote spiritual awakening, or my introduction into consciousness, into self-awareness, when I picked up a book called You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza. At the time, I was living in North Idaho in a town called Kellogg, Idaho. There's about 2,500 people. I was in a really dysfunctional marriage. I had a secret 10-year pain pill addiction. I had no confidence whatsoever. I felt very powerless in my life. I felt very voiceless in my life. I woke up every morning, there had to be more, but I didn't know what that meant or how to get there. I was really busy 110% of the time. I was taking care of others, taking care of life, doing the things that I thought was expected of a mom and a wife and all the things. I was trying to make my life look good on the outside, but on the inside, I felt like I was really slowly dying. That's truly how I felt. I felt like I was dying, and the pain pills were just a means to cover that up. So I didn't have to actually face that. And so I could cope with that by taking pain pills. I was living in the passenger seat of my own life. I didn't know how to change it. I felt like a victim. I felt like things were out of control. I felt like if my husband would just do this work, then everything would be fine. And then I could, then we could do this together and everything would be great. And so I felt really lost. I started meditating after reading the book. I dove down, as I said, the rabbit hole of spirituality, personal development. I watched everything I could get my hands on. I was doing little daily practices, even when I didn't feel like it, even when I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just kind of following my intuition as to what I thought would be the steps that I could take to integrate some of the things I was learning. And I was really determined more than anything to have what so many called a mystical experience so that my life would magically change. That's what I was hyper focused on. I thought if I could just have this, then everything in my life will magically change. Come to find out that it was a little bit more in depth to change my life than just one mystical experience. What I didn't realize at the time was that with every passing day of doing things a little differently, pushing a little bit beyond my comfort zone, connecting with source, staying committed to the process, I was slowly but surely transforming. They weren't dramatic changes, but I did start feeling lighter, happier, and more connected. Synchronicities started happening more and more as proof to me that I actually was creating my reality. I was starting to get evidence in my outside world that what I was doing really was making a difference. And that kept me in the game, kept me committed. And something even more miraculous happened. I noticed myself taking less and less pain pills throughout the day. This wasn't something that I had initially intended. It was just sort of happening as a byproduct. The more I felt will and personal power, the less, like I said, I needed to cover up the uncomfortable feelings by taking the pain pills. I was more willing to look at the things that needed to be changed instead of trying to avoid them or cover them up with the pain pills. I also didn't feel the need to fight or argue as much with my husband at the time. I just started choosing happiness. I just knew that I wanted to start feeling happiness over needing anything from him or blaming him or thinking that it was his fault that my life was the way it was, because ultimately I realized it didn't have anything to do with me. It was all me. And after all those baby steps and commitment, I had my first massive experience with source energy, what some may call a mystical experience, but for me, it was very physical. It was a very energetic experience. And it was at my first advanced meditation retreat. It shifted me profoundly, so much so that I came home from that. I was able to leave the marriage. I quit the pain pill addiction cold turkey all on my own. And more than anything, it sounds silly, but I actually felt unconditional love for myself. I felt what that felt like in my body to truly love myself. And because of that, shortly after, I met the love of my life, my person. That's what I always say. I hate using, again, words like the love of my life because it sounds so cheesy. And this partnership that we have is something that's so much more deeper than that. But really, because we had both been doing the work on ourselves, it was a manifestation of that. It was our outside worlds finally matching our inside worlds. And we began a life together, and we began applying and integrating the inner work in our everyday lives. It wasn't necessarily always easy in the beginning because, of course, there were things that had to change in our life, of course. But we knew we were committed to this process and living this life no matter what. The thing is, I still noticed I had a hard time being in my body. It felt amazing to, finally have my outside world start to match my inside world, and I felt connected to source, but I did not feel grounded in my body at all. I was still not 100% confident and powerful in my feminine energy. And then something else happened. I started to not want to have sex with this man that I loved with every ounce of my being. It started off obviously hot and heavy, as most relationships do. But then within a short amount of time, it was like my desire just went away. I felt like I was too spiritual to want to have sex. I didn't want to be in my body. And I realized it was because I was so busy being out there as a form of escape in many means that I didn't want to be in here. I didn't want to be fully integrated into my human self. It was like I was denying the human self and just wanted to ascend out of it. Until I had my first major trauma release after a friend told me about breath work. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I knew something major had shifted and I needed to know more. I started researching everything I could find about breath work, which eventually led me to Soma breath work. It seemed to me that I found the missing piece into integrating into my body. And this was something that I hadn't found in a lot of spiritual teachings. I mean, a lot of the spiritual teachings focus on meditation, focus on going into the void, a focus on losing who you are as your ego, which is part of the process, but nothing out there yet had really talked about integrating that into your everyday life, because after all, we are humans with an ego that can never be dissolved, or else we wouldn't be human in a human body. So it was like I hadn't found anything yet that actually integrated that into my world, into my everyday life, into my body, into who I was. And Soma really seemed to be the missing piece for me. I fell in love with the concepts right away. Everything resonated within it, and I started practicing it, and I signed up for the instructor training right away. I was astounded at what could happen just by using my breath. I had been down the path of meditation, and it felt to me like putting a power pack on meditation. It was like, oh, those 9 months of like trying to sit and meditate every day and feeling like it was shit. Now I could actually easily go to those places by just learning how to utilize my breath along with meditation. I was finally able to feel grounded, confident, powerful in my body. And after some big energetic releases, I was finally able to enjoy sex, pleasure, being in my body, and also integrate it into my spiritual practice, using sex as a means to connect even more with source and my feminine energy. Instead of feeling like it made me non-spiritual to move into my sexual energy, this actually was a means, a portal for me to connect with that even more. I felt completely aligned with myself and my purpose in this world, and that was really to help other women create the same thing. So I started my journey from zero. I had no prior experience or knowledge of meditation, breath work, law of attraction, spirituality, personal development. No one around me was doing what I was doing. I thought maybe I had lost my mind sometimes, and others around me were certainly telling me that and reaffirming that to me, They thought I had joined a cult. I had heard that many times. I had heard that I was just becoming selfish. I heard all of that. They didn't understand who I was becoming, and they most certainly did not like it. Most of the closest people around me didn't like it. I wasn't sure at times, of course. I questioned if I was on the right path. I felt very alone many times, and I felt really unclear and unsure, as I talked about in the beginning. But this is why I'm so freaking passionate about sharing the blueprint that created the most amazing life I get to live now. Because I want to be that guide for you that I didn't have. I will never, ever do it for you. I am not one of those people that will tell you, I will heal you, I will do this for you. I most certainly will not do any of that. But I will give you a step-by-step process, and I'll give you a community of people that are doing that. I will give you accountability so that you can stick to it, and I'll give you support as you do the work on yourself, as others are now experiencing. So I'll just quickly go through a few of these. I've only just started with your breathwork, M, and it's so powerful. Absolutely loving it and what it's been doing for me already. So much is shifting. Breathwork has changed my life. M. Hollis will guide you every step of the way, even if you've never practiced breathwork before. As a current member, I can share that this is without a doubt one of the best investments I've made in myself. M is the real deal. So glad to have found you. We'll never need another course. It's this for the rest of my life. Good morning, or I guess good afternoon where you are. I just wanted to let you know that the meditations you made are just incredible. I really enjoy them. I've only recently experienced Dr. Joe ones, which I also love, and I've tried ones off YouTube, but I couldn't ever stand the voices for reasons I don't know. They would just annoy me, but you and Dr. Joe got it going on. I really just want to express that to you. I'm so full of gratitude in this moment. Thank you. Thank you. Looking forward to tomorrow. So if you guys are ready to hear how they did it, give me a ready in the chat. Having this blueprint at your fingertips, imagine where you could be in 1 year from now, or worse. This is what I invite you to ask yourself. Imagine where you will be in 1 year if you don't do anything different and you keep trying to do it on your own, as you may have been doing, and just keep running into roadblocks. So consider this your fast pass. All right, so first question. Why do I use breathwork as a tool for transformation? As opposed to only doing meditation, which I talked about is designed, it's to quiet the mind, to work within the mind. Breathwork actually engages the body. It works on all levels, and there's no one size fits all. You can use your breath in so many different ways to experience different results. And this is why I loved so much breathwork, because it wasn't just one way to use your breath. It was many different ways to experience different results. And it was a tool that you could apply into your everyday life. So it wasn't like something you just had to do with your eyes closed. It was actually something that you would use with your eyes open throughout your day to help in those moments of like when the rubber meets the road and this is the experience you're having. Like I'm having an argument with my husband or my boss or my sister or whatever it may be. Here's actually what you can use in that moment to make a shift in that moment, because in that moment is when it really matters. And so breathwork really can help all the way from healing very physical issues, including anxiety, digestion, sleeping disorders, reduce blood pressure. It can help with autoimmune diseases. It also can increase creativity, creating flow states. You can release stored trauma and energetic blockages, which is, like I said, the other missing piece into, when you're meditating, you're not really working in the body or in these lower energy centers and these lower chakras. You can't really release the stored trauma, anxiety, stress that you hold within them. But breathwork actually does this. You can reprogram your subconscious mind, opening up your chakra system, manifestation, all the way to DMT-like experiences, and then also really deeply profound spiritual awakenings. And it's yours and it's free. And you can use it at any time of the day to change your state, to push past fear, change your energy, and ultimately to change your life. It is your number one tool you have at your disposal. It is something that I practice. It is something that I love every time I do it. Even if I just take a big, deep, conscious breath throughout the day when I'm paying attention to it, it just feels so good to breathe. So you can find out for yourself right now as you're sitting here learning. You can practice it right now. As you continue to follow along in this training, do a conscious 4 to 8 breathing. This just means breathing in through your nose to a count of 4 and breathing out through your mouth to a count of 8, engaging the diaphragm so you're not breathing shallow, but you can continue to do this rhythm of 4 to 8 as we move through the slideshow. As you slow down your exhale from how you normally breathe, so you're breathing in for 4 and you're exhaling for 8, you're slowing down your exhale, making it longer than your inhale. You're naturally stimulating a parasympathetic response in your brain. This means you go into rest and digest. You aren't looking for perceived threats in your outside environment. It means you can allow your brain and body to relax, which also means you can pay better attention to what I'm teaching you, as your brain will naturally move into an alpha state, where you're paying attention while still being relaxed. Pretty simple, right? Go ahead and try it as you're listening to this. In for 4, out for 8. In through the nose, out through the mouth. I guarantee you will soak up so much more information as I go through this. So there are many breathwork techniques in the Soma model, but the 5 that I really work with and use within my Breathwork 101 mini series and within my Authentic Life Blueprint program, these are the 5 that we utilize. It's rhythmic belly breathing, which is breathing to a rhythm, just like I invited you to do, breathing with your diaphragm, not shallow breathing, conscious breathing. And then there's the Mula Bandha, or the pelvic floor lock. That you can use those words interchangeably. And that's just engaging the pelvic floor to work with your root. And then breath retention, which is just holding your breath on the exhale, reaching states of intermittent hypoxia. And then there's heart coherent breathing, which is slowing down your breath, breathing to a rhythm, and then actually being able to bring up an elevated emotion to get in a state of heart coherence. And then there's chanting, and that we use the Om chant. So it's 3 syllables, ah, oo, and it's really about relaxing, moving energy, triggering, again, a parasympathetic response, and as another form to move energy. So doing any one of those will have impacts in your body. You'll feel it right away. But when you work with all 5 of those and you combine all 5 of those, it's even more powerful. So again, here's some things that people had to say about this. I tried my first breathwork experience today. This is absolutely life-changing. To anyone who wants to take themselves to the next level in their life and let go of things that hold them back, I highly recommend it. Oh my God, this breath work. It was truly like nothing I've ever experienced. I've gone deep into some amazing meditations before. I felt tremendous energy moving through my body. There was a palpable sense that I was releasing exactly what needed to be cleared without any conscious thought effort at all. When I fully surrendered to the force moving within, through, and all around me, I actually felt my empowered self come in and expand throughout the energetic space that had just opened up in my energy field. I can only describe this as absolutely phenomenal. There really are no words. At that moment, I was literally weeping with such an overwhelming sense of joy, relief, and release. So the equation that I use, the equation that I had when I was creating Authentic Life Blueprint program, was really about, like I said, engaging the mind, engaging the body, engaging our energetic system, engaging our physical system. And this was the best way that I realized in how to create your clarity, how to create your confidence, how to create this personal freedom. And really what that equals is a really authentic life in all areas of your life. And that was breath work, along with action steps, and along with the community. The community is a huge aspect when you're trying to make any changes in your life. It's important to have that community to do so with. So why is my strategy and system different than anything that's out there right now? Well, most spiritual law of attraction teachings focus only on what I call the branches, or what you could think of as the higher self or the spiritual self. This includes concepts like meditation, manifestation, law of attraction, multiple dimensions, quantum physics, connecting with your soul, being an empath, energy, frequency, etc. All of those, some people call it, like I said, new age, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. That is what I consider the branches. But in many ways, and for many people, it can also lead to even more ways of being a victim in your life and blaming other people or things for why your life is the way it is. This is a natural thing because our culture really lives in a victim mentality, or what I call a victim consciousness. But if you start at the roots first, you understand and embrace the concept that it really is all you. It's all inside you, and you are the creator of all of it, good and bad. Then you can begin to take your power back. You can stop being the victim. You can change your default self-programming. You can gain clarity on who you actually want to be, the person that you want to show up in all areas of your life, and actually what you do want in your life. And then you can have the confidence to actually move into that instead of staying stuck and frustrated. And you can start creating and manifesting amazing things in your life, utilizing your connection to source, your connection to the spiritual self, but then also your personal power and using your voice. But you have to work within the roots as well. With that being said, I'm going to give you the answer right now to your biggest problem that stands in your way. And that problem is you. You are your biggest problem. And I know some people hear that and they resist and they recoil and they're like, what the hell are you talking about? It's this person's fault. It's this person's fault. It's my parents' fault. It's my husband's fault. It's all these people's fault. And really what the biggest concept that people walk away with in doing my program is that it really is all inside of you. But here's the thing. The amazing thing about that is you don't have to be dependent on anybody else changing for you to live a good life. It means you are your very own solution, not everybody else. And it's one thing to intellectually understand this. So many people will sit here and tell me, I get it. I know it's me. It's all me. But it's another thing to truly experience it, integrate it, and know it to the core of your being, which is why I use a specific process and system to get you to that place where you have experienced it, you know it, it is your truth. It's not just something you think intellectually, it's actually a living experience in your life as your truth. So we use breath work as one of the systems, but I also use the chakra system for the other one, okay? So just to give you a really quick background on what the chakra system is, for those of you that may not know, our chakra system is the energetic system within our physical system. Each center acts like a valve, allowing energy to flow in and flow out, but sometimes these valves get stuck. And each individual center or chakra can block energy from flowing in, or it can be too open and have too much energy flowing in. Each of these chakras correlates to specific glands and organs in your body, and each have a physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual effect on your body. In other words, these energy centers regulate all functions of your mind, body, and spirit because they affect all areas of your life. The energy that runs through these centers serves as your life force energy, and it affects every part of your being, and then therefore, obviously, every part of your life. So I just talked to you about the branches and the roots. So I like to think of these chakras as represented by a tree. I would consider, like I said, the branches to be the spiritual self. That's really when you're working within the crown, you're working with the third eye, you're working within the throat. And there are so many aspects to the three of those that you dive deep into when you start a quote unquote spiritual path. So many concepts, so many applications, so many things that you're working with in the branches. But then there's the roots, which is represented by what I would say the human self. And that's your root, your sacral, and your solar. That's really your human self in your body. And then there's the trunk, which is balance and alignment. It's really bringing all of those into flow and into alignment. So they're all balanced. You're in harmony within this system. If you're in harmony within this system, you're going to be in harmony in your life. It will be a complete representation of that. The biggest mistake I see so many people make after having a spiritual awakening is that they only want to work within one of those systems, and it's usually always the branches, and they completely avoid the roots. But what I want you to imagine in an image in your head is think about a tree, a really big tree, and if the branches can only grow as big as the deep the roots are in the ground. In other words, if you don't have deep, deep, deep roots, your branches cannot grow. So you're actually only going as far as you can, even with your spiritual self, as deep as your roots are in the ground. And so people want to avoid the roots, and they want to think that being the human side of us and not being in that lower energy is a good thing, when actually what happens eventually if the branches get too big and the roots aren't deep and solid, the tree falls over. And that's exactly what's going to happen if you don't go within the roots and you ground into your body, you integrate into your body so that you are in full alignment. You aren't the one that's going to fall over. So let's dive into the tactics. So step one, as I talked about, getting to the roots. So this is phase one in my program. It's all about getting to the roots of your human self. Because of all the advancements in brain science and quantum physics, we now know that everything that shows up for us in our everyday lives is based on our subconscious programming. There is no objective reality. It's only your subjective experience. As Scott says all the time, how do I know my color blue is the same as your color blue? It's impossible because I'm not in your experience. I don't see through your eyes. I don't see through your lenses. This subconscious programming gets imprinted in the first 7 years of your life due to you being in a theta brainwave state. Basically, you're like a sponge soaking up everything around you those first 7 years from your immediate caregivers, the people that are taking care of you. And these are creating very specific subconscious beliefs about yourself and the way you think the world works, and then turning that in from those first 7 years, turning that into what I call the default self. The default self is just the unconscious part of you. It's the programmed, the conditioned part of you that you think you are. It's the part that, like I said, is unconscious, that you've never questioned. You just think it's who you are. Your world will then reflect everything it can to reaffirm these beliefs for the rest of your life, and you will continue to play out as your default self, i.e. the belief that money is hard to come by. So then, of course, you're drawing experiences to you to prove that money is hard to come by. So if I believe subconsciously money is hard to come by, as much as I want to say I love money, the subconscious beliefs will tell me money's hard to come by, or it's not good. And so then my outside world will constantly reaffirm that belief, and I will have experiences that reaffirm the belief money is hard to come by. Love is scary, dangerous, and can be taken away. I'm not worthy of love. Life is hard. I'm sure you can all see different areas of your life where these beliefs were reaffirmed in your experiences. And that's what the experiences do. They just reaffirm these unconscious beliefs that we've never questioned. You will continue to do all the work on the outside to try and find answers, but nothing will really ever fundamentally shift in your life. Maybe you experience small changes, but nothing will fundamentally shift, because at the end of the day, you aren't addressing the real problem, which is you, as I already told you, meaning the default self you, the unconscious you. Then you'll be stuck on the branches, and you'll continue to blame others for why nothing works for you. It will always be somebody else's fault. This didn't work because this person didn't do this. This didn't work because this person did this. She should have done this. He should have done that. And then maybe I would have been saved. And it's never going to be the other person's fault. It's always going to be you. But if you begin to work with becoming aware of who this default self is and the beliefs and conditioning behind it, you can change the programming so that your beliefs will support a life you want to have and the person you want and choose to be. We do this by using pelvic floor exercises, as I talked about, one of the techniques we use, along with rhythmical breathing exercises, as well as specific and aligned action steps that help you open up your root and sacral energy centers, bringing this energy into balance and flow and releasing this unprocessed emotions and trauma that you store in those centers and that keep you trapped in your default self. So that's phase one. That's getting to the roots, starting to question who you think you are, starting to question all of your beliefs, starting to recognize what are the emotions that I live by on a day-to-day basis. What are those really dense emotions? And what are those beliefs that keep reaffirming themselves in my experience? Do I keep having things show up for me that tells me I can never have enough money, I can never pay my bills? Is this what these experiences keep reaffirming to you? Well, that's going to tell you what your subconscious beliefs are. Somewhere in there, you have some belief around money that you have got to become aware of, and you become aware of just looking at your experiences. And then you still have to work with your breath and this pelvic floor to move that stored energy and to really reprogram your brain. So then we move to step two, phase two, which is really about connecting to the spiritual self. After you've cleared all the shit from your lower energy centers, including, like I said, this trauma, stress, dense energy, you're then able to connect with your higher self and source in a much deeper, clearer, and more profound way. As I said, the deeper your roots are, the more your branches can expand, right? So through using the open focus technique and specific breathwork exercises, you're able to not just understand intellectually that you are source, God, the universe, the divine, whatever you want to call it. You aren't separate from it. You are, it lives inside of you. But when you can actually experience that is when it's going to matter. You can know it again, but when you experience it in your body, that's when things are going to change. This step is about connecting to frequency, higher energies, and understanding that you are the mind of God and that this 3D realm is just a big playground. It's a big video game, and you actually get to choose how to play in it however you want, in whatever way your soul and your higher self is aligned to do so. By opening up your eye, like third eye, to the truth, you're able to see reality as it really is instead of how you thought it was, through these filters and the lens of your ego and your default self. So really what phase one does is help you to get rid of those lenses and those filters that you saw the world through. This is exactly where your clarity comes, and you are able to clearly see not only what the truth is, but your own purpose or soul's mission in this lifetime. This is where your own unique answers lay, and this is where you can connect with those answers instead of needing somebody else to tell you the answers that give you the tools so that you can connect with those on the inside. And then step three is really about building your confidence, personal power, and using your voice. So Confidence really comes from two places for me. In my experience, this is what I've found to be true. Number one is knowing that you are connected to source. And like I said, experiencing that connection, not just knowing it, but experiencing it. And then pushing past your comfort zones further than you think you're capable of is your human self. Those really, in my experience, are where you can gain the most amount of confidence from. Those two things build not only self-trust, but trust in your connection with your higher self. This is why we use a specific breathwork technique known as intermittent hypoxia, as well as specific and aligned action steps to work within those two elements. And then personal power really comes from two places as well. And number one is taking radical responsibility for your life, your emotional state, and your own frequency, and then moving out of a victim consciousness framework. We give our power away because we believe we are responsible for others' feelings, thoughts, and emotions. We do this because we believe others are responsible for our feelings, thoughts, and emotions. This is because we live in a victim consciousness framework where there is an oppressor, a victim, and a savior. But when you begin to learn how to self-regulate, you begin not being scared of your emotions, but you learn how to feel them instead of hiding from them or suppressing them or avoiding them with pain pills or fill in the blank for whatever your addictive thing is, and change your own internal frequency and emotional state. You will quit giving your power away to others. You will quit needing anyone to save you or you save them. And therefore you will begin to become the creator of your life instead of the victim to it. Lastly, because most people don't use their voice, it remains shut. Kind of like when you go to say something, that may be a little scary to say. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about here, but nothing comes out. It's like and especially a lot with when people have practiced breath work or meditation, they'll tell you that the energy stops at the voice. That's the tightest channel that the energy has to move through is our voice chakra. And so it's really tiny and it's a muscle. It has to be worked just like any other skill you're learning. You have to work with this muscle so that it can be opened up and energy can move through this really small opening. It is the last of the upper three energy centers before reaching your heart. Therefore, without expressing yourself through your voice, your heart really can remain shut off, which is why we use chanting along with other breathwork exercises and visualization to open up and work with this muscle so that you're able to freely express yourself, express your truth in your relationships. Instead of being afraid to use that voice, you're able to open that up, and you're able to do that in all areas of your life. And then lastly, step 4, which is really about balance, alignment, and flow. This last step is about opening the bridge between your branches and your roots, your human self and your spiritual self, and allowing your life force energy to flow in every chakra and therefore every area of your life. This is the center of transmutation of dense energy and trauma, where you can access elevated emotions and self-regulation, and more importantly, really experience unconditional love for yourself first, and then as a byproduct, others. If your heart is closed, you will not be able to receive love, and therefore you're not ever going to be able to truly give it without expectation or obligation. Those are things that we dive deep into in my program, talking about giving love, but having expectation attached to it or having obligation attached to it. A blocked heart does not allow love to flow in or flow out, which means you are disconnected from source, the God, universe, whatever you call it, and things will feel really heavy and hard in your life. This is why we use heart coherence, specific breathwork exercises that calm the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight, and aligned action steps to allow your heart to finally open, calm your nervous system down, and actually begin moving into your most authentic life, unconditional love for yourself as your chosen self. And this is really where you will begin to experience true personal freedom. So some people don't, I say your most authentic life. People are like, well, what does that mean? What does actually an authentic life mean? Well, here is some things that I believe is what creates an authentic life. And this is being fully aligned energetically and physically, living your best area in all areas. So you're not segmented like, oh, I can do that in this area of my life, but I can't do that in that. A fully authentic life means you're doing that in all areas. You're living as your most truest self, which means you aren't scared to show who you are to the world or to the people around you. Being surrounded by those you consciously choose, not obligation or expectation, and who support the highest version of you. You learn how to have boundaries. You love and appreciate your body instead of rejecting it or shaming it or avoiding it. You're mastering manifestation. You have self-awareness. You feel like you have passion and purpose. You have abundance flowing through your life. You're able to use your voice. You're the leader in your life, and you're really living out your soul's purpose, your mission. Better yet, you can ask yourself this question. I saw this somewhere, I can't remember where, but it really struck me as like, this is a really important question to ask people. If you were to have $5 million in your bank account right now and you had let go of what people thought of you, would you be in the relationship you are in now? Would you be in the job you are in now? Would you be living in the physical location you are now? Would you be hanging out with the friends and family that you do now, etc.? If any of those answers are no, you are not living an authentic life. So I wanted to share some case studies with you of some of the women that have gone through this system, that have gone through this blueprint, and are now experiencing their most authentic life. So here is our first one. I thought I would love the higher chakras, of course, like I talked about, the branches. But no, I loved the lower ones because of how impactful and empowering it is to be able to identify who your default self is and then to clear it, to become aware of it, to do something differently. The creative ideas and confidence to keep taking consistent action in my business is amazing. I can see where my default self kept holding me back, but I've been able to truly look at those default self beliefs, where they came from, and work with clearing and reprogramming. I've manifested big interviews for my podcast, free PR, money left and right, and the creative sacral center is okay to stay open. Before I would get the courage up enough as the default self to start something, I would put it out into the world, nothing would happen, and then I would get triggered and I would run a default self program and I'd bury my head in the sand. Kind of like I was talking about, your experiences will reaffirm those beliefs. She had beliefs about herself, and so her experience, she would do a little bit and then her experience would just reaffirm the subconscious beliefs, and so it was the vicious cycle that never changed. Now she says, I'm so freaking aware of when those feelings and thoughts start to creep in, and I no longer let myself long-term be held back any longer. And this is from Lauren. She is living her most authentic life in every aspect. She has a different relationship. She's living in a different location. She's started her own business. She's 1000% showing up authentically in every area of her life. Here's case study number 2. I can say I've spent a small fortune on other programs trying to heal myself and take this spiritual journey to self-discovery, but none of those other programs have impacted me the way ALB has. I can say I've wasted my money on some of the other programs because I walked away from some of them still feeling confused, scared, and that I was going to be lost forever and regretting I'd even done some of them in the first place. This was not the case with Authentic Life Blueprint. I was amazed at how interactive the program was. Weekly calls are amazing. Connecting with other members and having their support while supporting them through their journey is great. I don't know what I would do without this beautiful group of souls, how involved Em was in our understanding of the program, and how much she truly cared. We got something from it. Em cares so much for all of us. She put it all into this program and the group to show up. This is what set this program apart from all others, and that is why I know that I made the right decision to be a part of it. This program exceeded my expectations in every way. She is another one that 100% is living her most authentic life. She's about to make a big move to another state. She got a new job that she was really manifesting getting. I mean, she's living this in every area of her life. She was a perfect example of somebody that had done a lot of inner work, had sort of had a spiritual awakening, but couldn't actually apply it. She was trying all these things, but nothing actually got to the roots, really. And that's what she was able to do to get to the roots so that she could change her life. So here are the biggest differences between what I do in my blueprint and what other coaches or spiritual leaders out there may be doing. I show you how to take your power back instead of constantly giving it away to other people and things that you think will heal you. I show you how I became my own healer so that you can do the very same thing and become your own healer. I show you that instead of putting your power into crystals or incense or the planets or whatever else to clear your chakras, you actually can use your very own breath because your breath is yours. It is your life force energy is your breath. I show you how to take radical responsibility and that it doesn't have anything to do with anyone outside of you. It is all inside of you, which means you are the solution to your problems. I show you step by step how to grow your confidence and use your voice. I don't do any of that for you, as I talked about. I just give you the roadmap, the blueprint, the how-to that's missing in so many programs out there, I believe, and the required accountability to show up, and most importantly, the amazing freaking community of women that I have. This is in theory, For the last year, I've been working with women in the Blueprint program for them to achieve the maximum results in their lives, many of whom tried tons of other practices, modalities, and coaches, as I talked about, but are now experiencing shifts they never thought possible. Just recently, I took the time to totally remodel and update the course and the programs. So you have even more access to me, you have more breath work, you have laser-focused information and action steps to start experiencing shifts at an even faster rate. The system is like anything other out there. There's nothing else out there that uses the same system and model that I do. And it may just be the missing piece to your puzzle, especially if you have continued to struggle as I had with trying to just do it on your own. It can be really challenging when we're coming up against ourselves because we can't see our own blind spots. If we don't have somebody that can guide us, that can show us, that can help us, if we don't have the community, we will stay stuck in our own repeated programs. If you're thinking, I'm ready, where do I start? All you have to do, commit, focus, take action, which is exactly what separates those that do experience personal freedom and those that don't. So I just gave you the system, the entire system for how I created my life, how other women are creating their most authentic life. I give you the strategies, the tactics, but that is literally just a super small piece when it comes to moving from feeling frustrated, insecure, and indecision to really gaining clarity, confidence, and personal power. So as I see it, you have two options. You could totally do it on yourself. You could do it on your own as you've been trying to do it, probably. And that's a perfect image of what it looks like to try to do it yourself. Or you can learn from somebody that has done it. You can follow a proven success path. You don't have to rewrite it. You can actually learn from somebody that has done what you want to do. This program will fill in the blanks for you. But the better fit, the better results. I'm building a legacy business, not just any business. I don't want just any woman. This program is not just for any woman out there. I want the right woman, and that may just be you. So here's how the process works. As I talked about in the beginning, this program is for you if you feel frustrated, if you feel stuck, if you feel stagnant, and you're ready to level up and step into your power. If you've gone to lots of conferences or retreats or workshops, you've hired some healers, some coaches, you've read the books, you've done the courses, but you're still struggling to apply and integrate the changes into your life. You feel confused as to what steps to take next. You feel blockages within your chakra system, especially your lower ones. You feel blocked sexually. You know you have trauma within your body. You've tried to release it, but nothing's been able to shift it. You've been searching outside of you to find answers, and you struggle to go within to find your own. You want to make changes, but you're terrified of what those around you may think, or you may be scared that you may lose those people around you. You're committed to doing the hard things to get the results you desire. You know many concepts, but you haven't found a step-by-step guide for integration. You feel like you don't have support or community or anyone that understands you, and you are ready to stop being the victim and become your own guru healer. If any of those apply to you, and this sounds like you, and you're ready to do something different, then you're invited to schedule a call to potentially enroll in my Authentic Life Blueprint program. I've set aside extra time in the next couple of days, and we can get on the phone just to see if this course would be a good fit for you. The calls are usually around 30 minutes. The only intention in that call is to understand where you're at, where your frustrations are and your blocks are, acknowledge where you think you want to go, and then we just see if I can help bridge that gap and identify if we're a good fit to work together. This is a two-way road, and if we don't resonate, if I don't feel like these things inside of my program will help you, I will not waste your time or your money, I promise. I've already taken many women through this process, and I'm now opening it up for you to do the same in this brand new remodeled version. But remember, like I said, I'm not willing to work with just anyone. I want those that are committed and ready for change, because it's going to be up to you to make those changes. It's not going to be up to me. I give you the blueprint, but you're the one that's going to have to do them. And if you're not in that place of commitment, nothing, including my program, is going to work for you. So there's some pretty amazing women that are in my course. That's why I've been able to build the community that I have, because they were all committed from the very beginning. They knew they had to do something differently, and they wanted to invest their time and money in learning from somebody that has done what they wanted to do. So you can schedule a call now. Here is the link to schedule this call. I'll put it in the chat as well here. And so that way you guys have it in the chat. Lastly, here's what I know to be true. I would not be where I am today without investing in myself and working with the people who were where I wanted to be. I know that it's important to learn from those that are where I want to go and staying committed to the process. Again, I don't do the work for you, but I do give you everything you need to make changes and transformations yourself. So again, ask yourself this really important question. Where do you want to be in 1 year from now? What do you want your life to look like? And if you don't do anything different, if you keep trying to do it on your own, you keep struggling, you keep doing the same repeated patterns, what will your life look like in a year from now? What is it going to look like if you don't do anything different? So with all of that being said, I sped through that so quickly. I'm going to post this link to book a call here in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There we are. There we are. I'm going to put this in the chat. So there is the link to schedule a discovery call. And like I said, this is just if you want to find out, would this be a good fit for us? Because like I said, it's not, ALB is not for everybody, but I've gotten pretty good now at knowing at who it is for. And I want it to work for you. I don't want just another course and another coach out there that, isn't going to create something that is really valuable. I believe in offering value. I wholeheartedly believe in taking what I have done that works and offering that to you so that you can create those same changes in your life. Because listen, the more empowered people we have out there, the less victims we're going to have. And that means the less victims we're going to have, the less we will blame other people or try to tell other people to do certain things to make us happy. And the world will be a completely different place when we're coming from a place of personal power instead of victim and blaming and thinking other people in your life need to change for you to be happy, because I promise you they don't. You have the tool to unlock that in yourself. I know I was there. I was super scared of making changes in my life because I was so scared of what my family would think, what my friends would think. And I made some really big, drastic changes in my life. And I had to walk that journey of losing some people, gaining some people, having relationships changed. So I firsthand personally know what that process is and what that looks like and how to navigate that. So if any of that is you, just schedule a call, like I said, and we can see from the call if we think we would be a good fit to work together and go from there. There's no pressure, just a fun little chat. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I tried to make it 45 minutes, and of course I didn't. It was way longer than that, but hopefully you walked away with some value from that and really some steps that you can begin applying. And if you're ready and willing to take it to the next level, go ahead and schedule a call. You can watch this replay on my Facebook and on my YouTube channel, and make sure you're on my email list because I will send it out in an email tomorrow as well. I love you all. Have a beautiful, beautiful Tuesday. And until next time, goodbye.